So today we are going to start our the first lecture, that is the introduction of the object-oriented programming language. Using what? Which language? It is a Java. Means you are learning the object-oriented programming using Java programming. Okay. So there is another programming which is object-oriented programming, which is in that language we means we know that the features of the OOP. Okay. So this Java is a purely object-oriented language, but I think you don't know the object-oriented programming concept. So before starting the Java, I will tell you the basic features of the OOP and how we can use that OOP features into our the Java. Got it? So the first, what is the meaning of the object-oriented programming? So if you know that is the procedure oriented language, that is your the C language. In the first year, in the first sem, you learn that is the C language. So this C language is called as the procedure oriented because the first is that you have to declare some header files. Okay, that means you have to mention that is the include stdio.h and include conio.h, and it is called as the procedure oriented because your program is divided into the number of the parts, and the parts is nothing that your the functions. Means in that the procedure oriented language we return the functions, and with the help of the functions every functions can be communicate with each other. So it is a procedure oriented. And the next part is that you are declaring your main method at the top level. Okay, so it is a top to bottom up approach, but in object oriented programming it is bottom to up, means the main method is declared at the bottom, but in the C language, you have to declare after you have the header files. That is the void main, then the curly bracket, and after that, within the curly bracket, you can be used for your what? That is variable declaration and your methods also. That means suppose I will give you one syntax or one example. That is, suppose this is nothing that include. Hash is nothing that what? What is the meaning of this hash symbol? Hmm? Do you know? Hash means what? Yes, anyone can be tell me. What is this? This line means what? What is the meaning of this line? We are declaring these twos, no? This is called as the header files. And what is the meaning of this header file? Suppose I am writing any a C program, addition of the two numbers. Okay. So I have to write the source code on your that is the C++ Turbo C, or you can use the that is the C++ Notepad also. Notepad also you can write that is okay. Notepad C++ compiler. So here this hash is nothing that you are the preprocessor. Yes. And this include is nothing that one of the command, or we can say it's this is the one of the command, and here into the bracket we are mentioning that is stdio.h. So this is the header file, and it can be used for, it is a standard input and output. Std is for standard, I is nothing that the input, and o is nothing that what? It's the output. So why we are mentioning these header files? Because in our the program, we can take the data from the user, or we can initialize our the data members, or we can say that is the variables. We are declaring the variables, we are initializing the variables. So for that purpose, we have to compulsory mention this is the header files. Okay, if I am not going to declare or define this header file in my the C programs, so what will happen? It gives the error. Okay, and the next part is nothing that this is here it mentioned that is the conio.h. Conio is nothing that console input output. Got it? So whatever we are taking the input, or you have to display the output, so that output or taking the data, it can be from command prompt. Console black screen पता है सबको? CMD, CMD जब आप विंडोज पे टाइप करते हो सर्च में तो एक ब्लैक स्क्रीन ओपन होती है. So our the program's output can be shown onto your what? Command line. That is called as the CMD. And after that, after declaring this, you are the header files, you are mentioning or you are declaring that is your the void main. So what is the use of this void main? So this is your the main method, okay? Which return type is nothing that what? It doesn't return anything. Okay, so the every program's execution is starts from your the main method, and in the C programming or in a procedure oriented, it at the top level after your the header files. So it's called as what? Top to bottom. So after that, in the main methods, you have to declare your the bodies. That means you can perform your the task. Means here we can suppose I can use here, that is the initialization of the variables, that is integer I. This is the declaration. Integer I is equals to 10 is what? It is the initialization. Okay. The next is that if you want to take the data from the user, then you use the printf, enter the value of A. Then for reading that the value, you have to use the scanf. Okay. Are you remembering this concept in the C language? Okay, so the scanf is used only for reading that the input, whatever the end user entering that the data onto the console, that will be read, and read करने के बाद क्या होगा, that data will be stored into that the memory. Okay, then you can perform, that is C is equals to A plus B. That means we are performing the addition of the two numbers, and after performing that addition, you have to again display onto the console or to the end user. Then again you have write printf, then what? Addition of the two number, then you have to use the access specifier. Okay, that means what? परसेंट डी यूज करते हो ना, परसेंट डी परसेंट एफ, किसके लिए यूज होता है? फॉर रीडिंग दैट द वैल्यूज. ओके, परसेंट डी इज यूज फॉर if your the data is in integer. If your data is in a float, then that time you have to use what? That is the percent F, percent C, ऐसे आप use करते हो. Okay, that is called as the source code. So this is the procedure oriented. So what happened when you execute this program is divided into the number of parts, and that the parts is nothing that the functions. Okay, but in object oriented programming language, your the program or the source code is divided into the number of parts, and that the parts is called as the object. Okay, so the Java is an object oriented programming language, and this is the OOP is also object-oriented programming language. So everything is an object-oriented language is nothing that the object, and the object can hold the properties of your the classes, and the properties are nothing that what? It's like your the data members and the member functions which are declared in your the class. Got it? Yes. What is the meaning of the object? So basically here the object-oriented programming has a 4 pillars. Okay, this question is also asked in the interview. What are the 4 pillars of the OOP or the Java? So the first pillar is nothing that the abstraction. Second is called as the encapsulation. Third is inheritance. And the fourth is nothing that the polymorphism. So this is very important concept, or we can say this is a very, very important features of the OOP. And these features are also available into your the Java's language. Okay, so we will see what is the meaning of all these things. So after that, we will see what is the class. So first we will see the object features of the OOP. The features of the OOP and the features of the Javas are different. It's not the same. But the Java contains all the features of OOP. But OOP is not contain all the features of the Java. So the first we will see what are the features of OOP. So first feature is nothing that class. Okay. So class means what? Class is nothing that collection of data members and the member function. So what is data member and what is member function? So as you know that variables पता है सबको? Variable means is nothing that the name of your identifier. Variable किसको नाम देते हो आप? आपका मेमोरी, जो आपकी मेमोरी होती है उसको कुछ नाम देते हो ना, that's nothing that you are the what? It's a variable. So how to declare the variable? The first question is that how to declare the variable in any language. So what? Yes, tell me. कैसे declaration होता है variable का? First you have to mention what? Data type. Okay, मतलब syntax क्या है? Data type. The next is क्या रहेगा? Variable name. Okay, ये क्या हो गया आपका? Variable name. Okay. The next, अभी इसका एग्जांपल देना है आपको. Suppose int I. Okay, तो यहाँ पे suppose this is the small letter int I. तो ये क्या हो गया आपका? Variable. I क्या है? Variable. उसका टाइप क्या है आपका? Int. Suppose here I am 10. And the next is nothing that, suppose int A, semicolon. So what is the difference between two lines? First and the second. In the first line, this is nothing that what? Initialization of the variable. And the second is, you know that it is a declaration. Okay. So this is your nothing that the data member. ये क्या हो गया आपका data members हो गए. The next is that suppose here void. Then next suppose I am getting the taking that is the sum. So this is nothing that you are the function. Okay, but in OOP it's called as the method. Function आप procedure oriented में बोलते हो, बराबर है ना. फंक्शंस लिखने हैं आपको. दो टाइप के फंक्शंस होते हैं, कॉल बाय वैल्यू एंड द कॉल बाय रेफरेंस. कॉल बाय वैल्यू में हम क्या करते हैं, वी आर पासिंग द पैरामीटर टू दैट द फंक्शन. जो ब्रैकेट में, ये जो ब्रैकेट है ना, सम के अंदर अगर आपने आर्गुमेंट पास किए, दैट इज नथिंग दैट द कॉल बाय वैल्यू. And instead of that passing the variable, if you are passing the address of that the memory location, then it's called as what? Call by reference. Okay, reference matlab we are pointing to that the memory location. But the main thing in the Java, there is a no concept of the pointer. और pointer क्या होता है? Pointer मतलब क्या? It's which stores the address of your memory location is called as what? Pointer. Okay, तो Java में आपको pointer नहीं है. So these are, that is your the variables, and the functions are nothing that the properties of the classes. ये समझ में आ गया? So class means what? Class is nothing that the collection of this data member and member function. Class में क्या होता है? All the data members and member function. So how to initialize or how to declare, or what is the syntax of class? So the class का syntax है first class. Okay. Class is nothing that one keyword in a Java as well as in OOP. You have to mention that this is the class, and the next is, it's not in uppercase. So it is in a small case. The next class, then you have to mention that is the class name. Then curly bracket open and curly bracket close. And here in this is nothing that you are the body of the class. Okay, body of the class. तो यहाँ पे क्या रहेगा body of the class में? यहाँ पे हम क्या कर सकते हैं इस क्लास में? We are mentioning our the data members and member function. Okay. सर तुम्ही इथे ठेवा, मी डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करू. Okay, shall we continue? Shall we continue? हो गया? वो बाद में भी देख सकते हो आप पेज. So the syntax of the class is class and the class name. You can give the class name, any class name. Okay, you can give any name to your the class name. Then after that you have to open the curly bracket, and within the curly bracket you can initialize your the variables and the member functions or the methods, which is called as, this is nothing that the properties. Okay, suppose here I am going to use the integer a, and suppose I am using also the string s is equals to hello. These are nothing that my data members. Okay, if I am using any function or the method within within that the class, that is also my the properties. Got it? So these are the what? These are the properties of the class. So how to access that the properties? Whatever the properties are mentioned within that the body of the class, I have to access it. Means I have to create one object of that class, so that by using that object, I can access all the attributes, all the parameters of that the classes. So the next feature, which is nothing that the object. So object is nothing that it's the runtime entity, and the object are used for accessing your the properties of your the classes. Got it? What is the meaning of the object? Whenever we write the class, that time we have to create the object. Okay? Got it? For accessing the properties or the methods of your the classes, we require the object. And how to, there is a one syntax for creating the object. That is first class name, object name equals to new class name. So new is nothing that one of the keyword which can be used to allocate the memory for that the object. And the objects holds the your the data types. That means object holds your the data members and the member function. समझ में आ रहा है ये? Don't discuss. The next feature is that what? Data abstraction. So data abstraction is nothing that hiding the features of your the classes and showing only important features to the outside world. Okay, data abstraction. So this feature can be achieved in the object oriented programming using the your the abstract class and your the interfaces in the Java. Okay. The next is data encapsulation. Data encapsulation means wrapping of your the data members and the member function in a single unit is called as the data encapsulation. The good example of this data encapsulation is like your the object, because object holds your the data members and the member function. Okay. And the next live example is nothing that you are the chocolate. Chocolate is wrapped by what? कवर रहता है ना उसको, टैबलेट, जो आप टैबलेट लेते हो, टैबलेट पता ना कैप्सूल, तो कैप्सूल के अंदर छोटे छोटे स्मॉल स्मॉल ये रहते हैं, गोलियां रहते हैं, तो आप डायरेक्टली वो निकाल के गोलियां लेते हो क्या कैप्सूल में? नहीं. ओके, उसको कवर रहता है. दैट इज नथिंग दैट रैपिंग द essential part in a single unit, which is called as what? It's a data encapsulation. And the last is third last is inheritance. So inheritance is nothing that which can inherit the properties of one class into the another class. Suppose there are the four division of your the classes. Yes, SY CSE is a one main class, and within that there are the four parts: SY A B C D. So what are the common properties between all those classes? You're this first. Yes, you can say that is it is a branch also. Again, next is your syllabus. SY के भी बच्चे क्या पढ़ रहे हैं? ओ भी पढ़ रहे हैं. SYB में भी सेम ही है. Okay, teachers are the different, but subject is the same. So suppose SYC की कुछ properties है. First is nothing that property है उसका student name. ये क्या हो गया? Student name is nothing that the property. उसकी वैल्यू छोड़ दो, वैल्यू तो डिफरेंट रहेगी. कोर्सेस सेम ही है आपके. रोल नंबर्स, ये सभी क्या है? प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ व्हाट? यू आर द क्लास SYCSE. ओके, तो अभी मैंने क्या किया? सपोज इफ आई एम क्रिएटिंग SYCSE A क्लास, सो SYCSE A में मैंने क्या डिक्लेयर किया है? वेरिएबल्स, दैट इज द स्ट्रिंग स्टूडेंट नेम, ये मेरा एक वेरिएबल हो गया. देन इंटीजर रोल नंबर, ये सेकेंड वेरिएबल हो गया. एंड द थर्ड इज स्ट्रिंग कोर्सेस नेम, ये क्या हो गया? थर्ड. And again, suppose I am mentioning or I am using the your the methods मतलब function. मुझे क्या करना है वहां पे? I want to display the information of all the students. So I will use void display, ये functions मेरा, and within that the display function I am going to display the information of your the student. That is, I want to display the name of the student, courses of the student, and the roll number of that the student. Okay, this is the properties of SYA. And again, I want to create the another class for the SYB. And here again, I am to use the same properties. So shall I repeat all that properties into the another class? So instead of again, I have to create or I have to declare all these properties, and I only extract that the features of the SYA into the SYB, which is called as the inheritance. मुझे क्या करना है? सिर्फ extract करना है. So the SYB class can be able to access all that the properties into the SYB. This is called as what? It is a inheritance. The example is that you are the family. Okay, the properties of your the father. किसको जाती है प्रॉपर्टीज? हाँ, आपकी जो प्रॉपर्टी है आपके फादर की, उनके बाद किसको मिलती है? आपको मिलती है ना. तो वो उसके लिए आप कुछ करते हो क्या? मतलब ऑटोमेटिकली होता है. आपकी प्रॉपर्टी आपके मतलब जनरेशन, ये जब जब जनरेशन चलता है उसको प्रॉपर्टी असाइन होती है. समझ में आ रहा है? दिस इज द कंसेप्ट ऑफ व्हाट? इट इज द इनहेरिटेंस. इनहेरिटेंस मींस inherit the properties of one class into the another class. So there are the two to three types of the inheritance. We will see that all this in detail into the inheritance unit. The next is nothing that the polymorphism. So this polymorphism is a one of the word which can be divided into the two parts. First is a poly and the second is nothing that morphism. Poly means many. Morphism means the form. The entity which has more than one form is called as what? Polymorphism. I will give you one example how this polymorphism is achieved. You know that the plus operator? Yes? Plus operator क्या होता है? Suppose here C is equals to A plus B. इसका क्या meaning है? What is the meaning of this plus operator in between your the operands? Operands पता है ना? Operands and the operator. Operands is nothing that A and B are the operands and plus is nothing that the operator. So task is that it will add some values, but we don't know the what are the values of A and B. ये हमें पता है क्या? Because we don't declare any data type. Suppose the data type of this C and B are nothing that the integer last bench, last three students from the corner side. So we don't know here the types of this A and B. If suppose the type is nothing that the integer, so what it will give? That is the addition. Suppose integer is nothing that A and B is nothing that 5 and 6. So it will give me the numeric value that is the 11. Suppose I'm changing the data type. Suppose A value is nothing that the hello and the B value is nothing that what it's a what? Hello world. So what is the output? Hello world. Means the plus is nothing that one what? It is nothing that one entity. But when we change the data types, its role is also different. Got it? So this is called as the polymorphism. Okay, and this can be performed by using the operator overloading in the C++, and in Java we can achieve this polymorphism by using the method overloading and the method overriding, which is also called as the compilation time and the runtime. Okay, and the next is that message passing. As I told you, everything in object oriented language, it's based on your the classes. Okay, whenever we have to write the code, that time we have to use the classes and the object. We have to write the code into the form of the class. So whenever we create the class, that time we can create the multiple objects of that the classes. So every objects can be communicate by passing and sending and receiving the messages to the each other, which is called as what? It is a message passing. So these features are not available in your the syllabus. It is not mentioned in your the syllabus, but it's a normal or it's the main features of the OOP. Got it? So don't be confused. If there will be a question, explain the features of the OOP. So many students write all the features of the Java, but in the examination, it asks only for the OOP features. Got it? The next. ये समझ में आ गया सबको? Yes or no? What are the features of the OOP? First is a class, second object, data abstraction. Okay. Next. So we are starting the Java. So Java is what? Java is nothing that one of the language, very vast language, and it is purely object-oriented language, which is developed by Sun Microsystem. So first we will see the features of Java. अभी हमने कौन से features देखे? OOP. Then we are starting learning the features of Java language. The first feature is object-oriented. It's same as like the previous. The first feature is what? Object-oriented. Object-oriented means it's a purely object-oriented. So it based on your the object. This is one. So everything in a Java is based on the object. The second is that which is called as the platform independent. What is the meaning of this platform independent? We can execute the Java program programs on any operating system. Okay, there are so many machines, so many systems are available. So your the Java programs can be executed on the Ubuntu also, on your the MacBook also, Mac operating system, or on the Windows operating system, or any Linux operating system also. Okay, so it is a what? It is a portable, or we can say it is a platform independent. The Java programs can be easily moved from one computer system to the another anytime and anywhere. And the next, changes and the upgrades in the operating system or the processor and the system resources will not force any changes in the Java program. अगर OS में कुछ अगर आपने अपग्रेड किया है या अपडेट किया है तो उसका इफेक्ट आपके जावा पे नहीं होता. Okay, why it is a portable? Because it is available, it is executed on any machine. मशीन में क्या होता है? ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम होती है. विदाउट ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम वी कांट डू एनीथिंग. पता है ना सबको? तो अगर आपके सिस्टम में मैक ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है, योर द प्रोग्राम्स विल बी आल्सो एग्जीक्यूटेड देयर. ओके, मेरे पास विंडोज है, माय जावा प्रोग्राम्स इज एग्जीक्यूटेड ऑन माय सिस्टम. ओबंटू पे भी होता है और लिनक्स में भी होता है. द नेक्स्ट इज सिंपल. It's a simple. It's saying that it's a simple, but according to my knowledge, it's not a simple. It's very difficult language. If you know the concept of the OOP, then you can understand how to write the Java program. If you know the concept of the logical part, how to build the logics, or you know that the basic concept of the any C language or the basic parts of your the programmings, then it is a simple. Otherwise, it is so difficult. Okay. So it's saying that it's a simple, but learning is a simple, but implementation is a hard part. Then it is a secure. Why it is a secure? Because first is thing is that there is no any pointer concept. Okay. अगर pointer है means that we are accessing directly to the memory. Pointer किसके लिए use होता है? Pointer में क्या होता है? We are passing the address of any variable. Okay. Pointer use किया means I can access that the memory location. अभी यहाँ पे क्या है? Pointer ही नहीं है. So it is a secure. Okay, Java does not supports the pointer. The next, it is a robust. Why it is a robust? As I told you in the practical session also, Java supports the compiler and the interpreter. So it's a robust. Means when we write the any Java code, first of all we have to execute. We have to compile it by using the Java C command. Java C, that is the Java compile, and you have to give the name of your the file with the Java extension. Okay, so the difference between the compiler and interpreter is what? When you're the Java virtual machine, I will tell you what is the Java virtual machine, everything in the next unit. Okay, upcoming topics, I will tell you in the detail. So the JVM, what happened when we write the code on your the notepad? We write normally we are writing this code into the notepad plus 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 or notepad, or we can use the any IDE also. Within that also we can write the code. So when we compile that the program, so your whole program is read by the JVM compilation time. And whatever the errors are there into your the program, it will give that all the errors at a time. This is called as the compilation. Okay, and the at the compilation, it will give only the syntactically error. Okay, syntactically error means if you are not giving the semicolon, or if you are giving the mistakes, typo mistakes, or system का S capital होना चाहिए first letter, and you are giving what it's a small, upper case होना चाहिए. It's a Java is a case sensitive language. Okay, system dot out dot println. This is one of the statement for which can be used for printing the lines on your the output. Okay, so it's a case sensitive, and if you are instead of writing the system as capital, if you are writing the small, then it will use the compilation error. Got it? Then if you do some typo mistake is there also, it will be again into the form into what? Compilation error. So what happened? Compile when we compile the program, that time the Java JVM reads your whole program at a time, and it will use that the error, and you have to solve that the error. The next you can execute your the program. Means again you have to interpret. Java is a compiler. Compile होने के बाद your the source code is converted into the dot class file, and within that the dot class file, the dot class file is contains only the binary numbers, that is 0 and the 1. Okay, and the type of the execution, your own, that is the interpretation level. You are the that byte code, you are the class file is executed, not you are the source code. Okay, समझ में आ रहा है? I will also give one a hands-on on this, but before that you have to understand this. आपका एक प्रोग्राम है, उसको अगर आपको एग्जीक्यूट करना है तो फर्स्ट आपको कंपाइल करना पड़ेगा. आफ्टर कंपाइलेशन योर डॉट क्लास फाइल इज क्रिएटेड, एंड आफ्टर दैट एट द execution time your byte that is your the class file is executed, not the your the source code, that is the dot class file. Okay, got it? So interpreter में क्या होता है? The JVM read the program line by line. कंपाइलेशन में क्या हुआ था, एक ही बार आपका प्रोग्राम रीड होता है, बट द इंटरप्रिटेशन के टाइम पे क्या होता है, आपका प्रोग्राम लाइन बाय लाइन रीड होता है, एंड इट विल चेक द रन टाइम एरर. इफ द रन टाइम एरर इज ऑकर्ड एट द फिफ्थ लाइन, ओके, सो इट विल नॉट रीड द सेकेंड लाइन. मतलब उसकी सिक्स वाली लाइन वो नहीं रीड करेगा जब तक आप वो फिफ्थ लाइन आप सॉल्व नहीं करोगे. समझ में आ रहा है? व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द कंपाइलेशन एंड द you are the interpreter. So Java supports both, that is the compiler as well as the interpreter. And because of this feature, compiler and the interpreter, it is a robust language. Okay. The next is distributed. So Java is used for developing the many applications. Like we can, by using the Java, we can develop the Windows application. You know that what is the Windows application, console applications, web applications, Android application, database applications. Okay. So Java supports all these types of the applications. So it is a distributed. And the next is nothing that the high performance, that is with the use of the just-in-time compiler, Java enables the high performance. So it is the, because this compiler and the interpreter, it is a high performance. Okay, got it? So these are the features of your the Java. And you know that what are the features of the OOP. ये समझ में आ गया? Next, difference between procedure oriented and object oriented. See, this is first lecture is a purely theoretical concept. Okay, when I start the hands-on, then that time you can properly understand. So this is first unit is purely your all the theoretical part. और हमारी एग्जाम भी आने वाली है 12 तारीख को, तो हमको ये कवर ही करना है. नेक्स्ट लेक्चर से मैं हैंड्स ऑन दूंगी, तो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड बेटर. तो फर्स्ट यू नो दैट द सी लैंग्वेज पता है. हाँ, अभी ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड कोई भी लैंग्वेज ले लो और उसमें आपको कंपेयर करना है. सो द फर्स्ट प्रोसीजर ओरिएंटेड में क्या होता है, आपका प्रोग्राम डिवाइड होता है किसमें, फंक्शन में. ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड में योर प्रोग्राम इज डिवाइडेड इनटू द स्मॉल पार्ट, उसको क्या बोलते हैं, ऑब्जेक्ट. ये फर्स्ट फीचर हो गया, फर्स्ट डिफरेंशिएट हो गया, फर्स्ट पॉइंट. द सेकेंड, as I told you at the starting, procedure oriented supports top to bottom. Top to bottom means what? Main method is declared after the header files. जावा में क्या होता है, फर्स्ट क्लास लिखो, क्लास के बाद उसके प्रॉपर्टीज लिखो, और उसके बाद मेन मेथड लिखो. तो एग्जीक्यूशन कभी भी जब होता है ना, इट विल स्टार्ट ओनली फ्रॉम यूर द मेन मेथड. तो जावा में और ओओपी में जब अगर आप C++ के प्रोग्राम करते हो ना, आई डोंट नो whether you guys are know about the C++ language or not, but in C++ you are the main method as the bottom. फर्स्ट क्लास लिखो पूरा, और उसके बाद आपको मेन मेथड डिक्लेयर करना है. जावा में आप विद इन द क्लास यू हैव टू मेंशन यूर द मेन मेथड. वो बॉटम में भी रहेगा और वो टॉप पे भी रहेगा. Got it? So in object oriented programming follows the bottom up approach. Why it is a bottom up? Because the main method is available after the class. Okay. Next, there is a no access specifier in procedural programming. Access specifier means what? Procedure oriented में access specifiers नहीं है. That means public, private, protected. Okay, these are the access specifier. लेकिन in object oriented में there are the access specifiers are used, that is the public. Public means anyone can access the properties of the class. If I declare my properties as a private, no one can access the properties except you, the class. Okay, protected means you are giving some limitation, you are giving some permission to the other users also, so that those have authentication, they can use the properties, the classes. We will see in detail. Okay. The next, adding a new data and the functions is not easy. प्रोसीजर ओरिएंटेड में क्या होता है, अगर आपने एक बार प्रोग्राम किया तो अगर रन होने के बाद फिर से अगर मुझे कुछ डेटा ऐड करना है या फंक्शंस ऐड करना है, सो इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट. बट ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड में वी कैन इजीली ऐड द फंक्शंस एज वेल एज द डेटा, बिकॉज देयर इज अ कंसेप्ट ऑफ योर द ऑब्जेक्ट. ऑब्जेक्ट होल्ड्स योर द प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ द क्लास. कहीं पे भी ऐड करो आप, डेटा किस में रहेगा, आपके ऑब्जेक्ट में रहेगा. The next is that in procedure programming, overloading is not possible. Overloading means, overloading क्या होता है? सपोज सी लैंग्वेज में मैंने दो फंक्शंस यूज लिखे हैं. फर्स्ट है मेरा void sum, उसमें a एंड b की मैं एडिशन कर रही हूँ. और अगेन आई एम यूजिंग अनदर फंक्शन void sum. दो है एक ही नाम की, उसका रिटर्न टाइप भी सेम है, लेकिन उसका जो टास्क है ना, यहाँ पे मैं क्या कर रही हूँ, आई एम एडिशन ऑफ द टू स्ट्रिंग्स. इज इट पॉसिबल? वो एरर देगा ना, क्या एरर देगा? डुप्लीकेशंस. लेकिन आपके जावा में या आपके ओओपी में इट्स कैन बी डन. ये ओवरलोड होता है. इस समझ में आ रहा है? फर्स्ट फंक्शन अगर आपने लिखा है उसके नीचे सेम ही फंक्शन लिखा है तो आपका सेकेंड फंक्शन ओवरलोड हो जाएगा. फर्स्ट फंक्शन ओवरलोड होगा और सेकेंड फंक्शन एग्जीक्यूट होगा. So this is not achieved in the procedure oriented language, but it can we can implement this into the any OOP. Okay. The next is that in procedure programming there is a no concept of data hiding and inheritance. Okay. Procedure oriented में data hiding भी नहीं है और आपका inheritance concept भी नहीं है. लेकिन प्रोसीजर ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड में it supports all the features of your the OOP. That is data abstraction, data encapsulation, inheritance, and the polymorphism. Understand? How many students are performed the first practical? That is the Hello World program. Which batch? C batch and C1 and C2 batch. Okay. So they knows that how to write the code into the Java at the Hello World program. So shall we stop or lena hai? Huh? Stop. Okay. Quick.